I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot, my co-host, as always. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. Wonderful Friday. I have not seen outside yet. I don't know what it's like, so I'm just here in the basement dungeon.
Well, today's nice. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain for most of the day, so get out today, K-Dot.
I like rain. I like gray skies and rain. Seattle's my favorite city.
Go out outside in that case tomorrow. And so... Today's episode is, of course, Commander-centric, and so we've got three topics for you guys today. One, we're talking about the sale. After last week's episode, just a few hours later, it was announced. There was an official statement from Dan and Tanya Snyder saying, we have agreed to terms with the Josh Harris group. Amazing news. Everyone went crazy. We went crazy. It's been a great week. That's one. But the sale is being held up a little bit. We're going to talk about that. Then we're talking about Sam Howell versus Jacoby Brissett. Is there any reason to worry about Sam Howell being the starter? Could Jacoby Brissett be the starter? We're going to talk about that. And then Emmanuel Forbes, that man is getting so much hype right now. You go onto social media, there's video of him. There are various folks speaking anonymously. Man, this guy is really fucking good. So we're going to talk about the Emmanuel Forbes hype and the comparisons to Trayvon Diggs. K-Dot, why don't we go ahead and begin with Dan Snyder agreeing to terms, and Tanya agreeing to terms with the Josh Harris group. Now, there are league meetings that are occurring this coming week. All right. I believe it's like May 24th through 26th or something along those lines. But there's not going to be a vote. Okay. So we'd heard about the news, and the natural next step is, all right, cool. Let's vote on it. Let's do it. Now, the problem is, there are 12 people associated with Josh Harris that are a part of this purchasing group. And so they all need to be vetted. That is the reason why this is being held up. But you were also saying that there was some sort of Dan Snyder is holding this up story. What was that about?
It was some non-story about Dan Snyder might be holding it up because of the Mary Jo White investigation in some sort of capacity, but it doesn't really make sense. And the reason it doesn't make sense more than anything is from like just looking at all the facts. We did always hear that any of the contract signings had a delayed payment as far as the bonuses went. And the delay payment, from what I understand, the rumor was May 12th was around the date that everybody was supposed to get it. So it is of an idea that he was pushing it back to where he thought the sale would come through. This all kind of fits the same time span. It's what the league got the initial documents about the sale, the same way that when there was the initial, when we had the pod with the initial, like, oh shit, he's selling, where everybody went crazy. And it was like, hold on. Was the league got the paperwork of what was going to take place as far as the sale. But then, because there are 12 people that need to get vetted, there's some language and stuff that changed within the initial proposal that they got in this. So you can see even Dan Snyder thought that the sale was probably going to happen by now. Right. But it's not that he's holding anything up. It's literally just, hey, no, there's just more of the process that happens when you have more people there. So it just makes sense. The league is saying everything they can. Anytime the league has anything to say about the situation, the rumor that came out weeks and months ago at this point was the Snyder wanted indemnification on whatever happened with the Mary Jo White deal or any of that. They are quick to say, no, we told you guys, we're releasing all the findings. It will be public. This has nothing to do with any of it. And I tend to believe them, which is why Snyder's overseas trying to duck potential legal ramifications.
Yeah, I don't know where the yacht is right now. I will say that they're probably going to maybe take one or two things out just to make it easier for Dan to go and just not be bothered anymore. I mean, him selling the team is massive, is absolutely massive, of course, as we all know. I mean, last Friday on Twitter was lit. The weekend on Twitter, on Instagram, on any social media, Reddit. I mean, everyone's going absolutely nuts. It was a lot of fun. Why not?
It's kind of like I've been saying, is that I can't get, like, you guys know me. I've got no problem being emotional and passionate about things, ever. But with this whole process is that I'm not celebrating until it's over. My level of this is a thing set in stone hasn't changed for about 18 months. So it's like,
but now we have an official statement.
It doesn't matter to me. It's like,
of course it matters.
Because if they find out one of the 12 is a fucking secret serial killer, then we're back.
Then we got 11. Then RG3 comes in and we're good to go. I don't understand what's going on.
RG3, pump the fucking brakes, buddy. As far as your Dan Snyder shit, we know what happened. Okay,
that whole thing is very.
We like
annoying.
You managed to kind of get away from Harris Scott.
You're starting to tread a line,
but you're chill out, bro. Chill out. I did appreciate your on behalf of fans trying to be with us in a way. Okay, but walk that line, bro. Walk that line. No, it's just until it's officially official, until I can go to NFL.com, pull up the Commanders, and look on the sheet and say Dan Snyder's no longer in the ownership thing. To me, it's like I guess I'm waiting to actually celebrate instead of all these false celebrations. Like I don't want the parade time to come and everybody's
false celebrations. Like, whoa. False celebrations, K-Dot.
I think you hold on to it until you get the big release. I think you got it like
interesting. A lot of people could use that advice. Something. Yeah.
I'm in the edging. No, I'm sorry.
Thanks for waiting for me to put the coffee down. Mr. Provided mug over here.
Nice. I just when it becomes official is when you'll see me go fucking nuts. But I until that point, it's just everything that came out. I'm having basically the same reaction to, which is okay, another step.
So would you say, just sticking with what we were just talking about, would you say that some of us celebrated prematurely?
Premature.
Yeah.
Celebration.
Yeah, the word is celebration.
No, because I know it's like I can't divorce myself from this fan base, right? But there are a lot of times where I look at myself kind of outside of it to a certain degree, and maybe that's my own ego. But
well, you're a very spiritual person, K-Dot.
Some of that, but the idea of people here need something to celebrate. So there's just, when it comes to football and watching, even our fucking great DC defenders losing the fucking championship, like it's to
a sub 500 team. Yeah,
we want something to celebrate, so we're eager to do so. So any news on this is what moves the needle. And when me and you were trying to do a podcast to pull the curtain back, and we're talking beforehand about what the fuck we want to talk about, it's slow right now. So
it is slow.
So you got sports radio, all this other kind of shit. What else are we going to talk about? Like it's not like we made a bunch of free agent signings that everybody's fucking going nuts over.
You know what a perfect transition to the next topic, which is Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. So we did make a quarterback signing, backup quarterback signing, 1 year, $8 million to Jacoby Brissett. That makes him the highest paid backup in the NFL, K-Dot. And I think that's important context for what we're talking about here, which is that when you listen to Ron Rivera speak, when you listen to Eric Bieniemy speak, they're talking about Sam Howell. He is the guy. That's what they're saying. And he has every opportunity to win the job. That's what they're saying. But this is also a coaching staff that is going to be under new ownership. And as you know, with a lot of new ownership groups, when a new management comes in, first off, they want to install new management, probably. They're people that they trust. And then that could include the coaching staff. So you have the highest paid backup in the league. You have Sam Howell, who has started one game and he played fine. He did beat Dallas, certainly, but he played fine if you look at it. How tight of a leash do you think Sam Howell has entering this season, K-Dot, knowing that, hey, the coaching staff, they want to keep their jobs?
All depends. Tons of variables in this, right? So, like, there is in one semblance that as long as he's not actively, like, all right, if we see that the team itself, if the defense comes out of the gate top 5, top 10 looking, unlike we did last year where we got better over time, right? If the defense comes out and they're looking fucking stellar, right? If our wide receiving core, when they get the ball in their hands, are looking great. If you got the running back, we got a running game kind of going, and Sam Howell is literally just throwing interceptions and costing his games, then I can see a situation and are like, hey, dude, we're in a position to win some shit, and you're just not doing that, so we need to move on to someone else. So I can understand that, because, I mean, look, Sam Howell does not there's all this sort of value. There's a valuation that's kind of put on players to a certain degree, right? So you look at Jacoby Brissett and you say, all right, 1 year, $10 million contract. for backup QB when you had a Taylor Heineke here. What does that mean? Well, it means that they wanted a guy at backup, that we're not in a situation like we have been where we're scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel to get somebody in there to throw a fucking quarterback. Now, I was looking at highlights the other day of the year that we had Mark Sanchez fucking starting for us with Josh Johnson and all the rest of these motherfuckers.
What a lovely year.
Phenomenal. I was doing a rewind on Adrian Peterson's time with us in Washington.
Right.
We got highlights there. But the idea is that we have somebody that should not be a detriment to the team if the rest of the team is working out well. Perfect. So I think Sam Howell his leash will be as long as however the team itself is performing. I don't think they'll go to Jacoby Brissett to light a spark if nothing else is working. But you let him out there and you see what you got. Sam Howell also being a 5th round pick. I know that we're hyping him in the sense of, hey, if he came out the year before, then he'd be a 1st round pick. Regardless, 5th round pick, 1 start so far. If he goes out and he absolutely sucks, I don't think anybody's like, oh my God, we really need to kick the tires on this guy. Be all right. It was worth it. Didn't work good. It is what it is.
Well, so something I want to bring up, K-Dot, is you and I. Okay, so again, I'm going to walk through the first 4 weeks of the NFL schedule for us. Okay, against the Cardinals at home, we both have them winning. And then the next 3, away to Denver, at home to Buffalo, away to Philadelphia. 3 losses is what we have. So we have them at 1-3 at that point. A home game against the Bears on Thursday night. Do you think that could be a pivot point to the highest paid backup in the NFL? Because 1-4, just looking at it, would be a disaster. It would be a 3-game losing streak for Sam Howell. Let's look at that narrative. Like, would that be a spot where the coaching staff panics and they go, hey, we're not sure we're in this for the long term?
No, because I think overall, I wouldn't think that we're in that position primarily because of Sam Howell, if that makes sense.
So, need to switch something up. Like, let's say he's playing okay.
Yeah, but if these are close games, if we're not getting blown out, then you don't.
I mean, home to the Bills, away to Philly. Those are high-scoring offenses.
But you also know me when it comes to end of season. I'm not a panicker. I don't panic.
You're spiritual. We've talked about this. Yeah, right.
I'm with if you're looking at you can make progress and continue in the right direction, even if it's not happening for you yet. It doesn't mean you need to scrap everything. Like, there's a difference there. Like, there's a wanting a spark because you're desperate compared to, hey, he's learning. There are building blocks. I'm seeing good things here. We're losing by 1 score or maybe 2 scores in one of those games.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to blow it up. It means get him more reps in there and it'll look better.
I think the intrigue for me is that what are the conversations happening behind the scenes off the field between ownership and Ron Rivera, let's say, between ownership and Eric Bieniemy, let's say, because that is where I think interests need to align. I'm not sure they do, because one is going to take a longer term view. That's going to be new ownership, right? What's working here? What isn't? What can we change? And then you have Ron, year 4, right? Won the division first year, but it was sub 500. And then has missed the playoffs for 2 straight years, including last year where he said, hey, this is make or break. I mean, that's what he said. So it's going to be interesting to see how those interests align, if they can align those interests from the perspective of the coaching staff staying here longer than this coming season.
I don't think it'll matter, mostly.
You think no matter what? What do you think?
I don't see a scenario in which Josh Harris, these guys come in, and the only communication they really have with Ron and Eric, at least throughout most of the season, is, hey, we're your new owners. Go work. Like, I don't see them doing anything more than that necessarily.
Right.
I think what they're doing this season is just evaluating everything. So, like, if Sam Howell doesn't work out, they know they got to address quarterback. Like, I don't think any of them are looking and saying Jacoby Brissett's the guy that we're going to have to re-sign after this year, 4 or 5 year deal. So I just think as far as players, they're going to have guys in here just evaluating everybody. And I don't think anybody's going to know what's going to happen until the end of the season. I think it'd be different if, like, if they had drafted a quarterback this season, in this draft. Okay, I can see that there probably going to be a little bit more communication. If they drafted somebody in the first round and it's, hey, we're going to start Jacoby first, and then we'll see when it is we're going to put in, and you can have new ownership be like, whoa. Don't you dare throw him in the fucking Lions den right there. Or they say, hey, no, we need to see the young buck play. Like, I could see that. But in this sort of situation, the most important position on the football field is quarterback.
Mhm.
And the only thing that we have to learn this season is Sam Howell the guy or is he not the guy?
Right.
I don't think much changes beyond that. And what's the winning record? What's the record at the end of the season? That'll determine whether or not Ron Rivera is here or not here. That's it. I don't think that requires Josh Harris or any of them getting too involved in that process.
Fair enough. No, I tend to agree with you there, but I am interested in the early part of the season, the coaching staff, how are they viewing it? Because I do think this is truly make or break for them, especially under new ownership.
But I think they've shown us. I think they showed
they
us.
have.
Like, the thing to me is like what I'm like. You can go on Twitter right now, and I need to fucking stop. Commander's Twitter is getting on my last goddamn nerve.
Right.
What the conversation today is about position flex. Whatever.
People need something to talk about. That's what this is.
So goddamn bored. But the thing right now is that what did we say coming out of this season? We didn't want Ron Rivera doing anything to put us in a situation we couldn't get out of if he were to be ousted.
It's the only reason we weren't
panic.
all for, the Lamar Jackson trade if we
Right.
were to make one.
So, like,
Yeah.
right now, what Ron Rivera's, I applaud the fact that he has done, most guys at this particular point, you would have seen a desperation play. I need to do something desperate to put myself in a position to potentially be here for the following year after the owners get here.
Right.
I got to make the big quarterback move. I got to go draft somebody crazy. I got to do. Ron is literally, you can't look at this offseason and not say he's just looking at this as one more step.
Mhm.
And that to me shows that he's not going to do anything stupid. Like I don't say he might.
Well,
do things
he
that we don't
did
agree
start
with.
Carson Wentz after Taylor Heineke had a rough quarter.
He might do things you don't
against San
agree with, but he's
Francisco.
not going to do things desperately stupid.
You wouldn't
like
call
you're-
that desperate?
No.
Sounds good.
Oh, fuck off.
why don't we go ahead and talk about first round pick Emmanuel Forbes, corner out of Mississippi.
You know what's like Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden throwing you remember the Dwayne Haskins first start?
Yes.
I don't see Ron doing that. And
Okay.
number one, he doesn't have a young quarterback he can do that too. So
Fair enough. Hey, fair enough. Let's go ahead and talk about Emmanuel Forbes. Round 1, pick 16, corner out of Mississippi State. And right now, we had mentioned, hey, there's not a whole lot to talk about, but a lot of people want to talk about Emmanuel Forbes and just how well he has looked and adjusted so far. There was a lot of talk about his weight being 166 pounds. Heck, we talked about it while we were learning more about the guy. A lot of people have. You did too. You being you that's listening right now. You talked about his weight too. Don't front. And here we are. And a lot of people are saying, hey, this dude is really fucking good. This guy's anticipation is incredible. Reminds me of Trayvon Diggs. And that's obviously exciting. Here's the thing. We just said there's not a lot to talk about. So the nature of social media, the nature of sparking conversation is to go, what excites people? Let's gas that up. Okay, so I just want to be 100% clear on that and what's going to get engagement. You're not going to get, a 6th or 7th round pick going, oh, he looks good. It's not going to get that much traction. First round pick doing well? Oh, yeah. Well, especially because Christian Gonzalez was on the board and everybody had him ranked so highly. So you need Emmanuel Forbes to sound incredible immediately. K-Dot, what do you make of it? That's the context I'm providing for my point that I'm obviously making.
I'd repeat almost everything you just said. So look, there is a certain semblance of, you can go back and look at what our initial visceral reaction was to the Forbes pick, which was, I mean, I was right about it. I knew that they were going to pick him, but there was still like, Christian Gonzalez was on the board. So I think there's a little bit of... The
Patriots also, it took him 32 seconds. Is that right?
Fast to do that, Pat.
It was very fast.
They don't have a great draft history, but they was pretty fast in the trigger there.
Pretty good on the defensive side.
That's true. So there is a little person inside, I think, all of our heads are like, God damn it, they might have fucked up this goddamn pick. We need something to feel good about when it comes to this goddamn pick. Oh shit, he's picking off in minicamp. Oh look, he's the second coming. Yeah, there is a lot of boredom when it comes to it, but I think that there's also a lot of people that right now, when you get out of draft mode, as we've said repeatedly, no one fucking knows anything until they're actually playing the game, right?
Amen. Yep.
So right now, what you're trying to do is there's a move that happens after the draft that we transition into fandom. You transition into rooting for the guys to succeed. So if you get anything, anything to get hype about, you do that. This is the time that we're selling ourselves on the positivity of this upcoming season. And Forbes is one of those things that, like, when you hear all the hype, when you hear Jalen Ramsey and Sauce Gardner and all these guys praise him after the draft, then we're looking for something. All right, we want something to know. Are we right on this? Are we right on this? And we just want to know the outcome. And we won't know until he actually plays. And here's the thing. Even when he actually plays, we won't know for a significant, maybe most likely a significant portion after he starts playing. Because, look, other than Sauce Gardner and Patrick Surtain, who are kind of changing the landscape right now, most cornerbacks do not come into the league lighting the world on fire. They get beat a bunch because they gotta get their bearings, right? So I just think it's one of those things that we're searching for something positive. I'm hopeful that, yeah, it was good, but as we were saying in the pre-show, who was throwing the ball? Should we be more worried about that?
Yeah. If Sam's throwing it, I'm concerned because then we're looking at Jacoby. I mean, like there are a lot of variables here, right? Okay, so for example, I'm on Twitter right now. So Ben Standig, all caps, Emmanuel Forbes just jumped a pass for an interception and probably would have gone the distance. 102,000 impressions. Okay. That means 102,000 people scrolled past it or read it or whatever. 90 retweets, 712 likes, 26 comments, and everyone's going bananas. Okay. Like, this is what we're talking about. So who threw that pass? That's important. Was it a coach? Was it me? Was it KDOT? Was it Sam Howell? Was it Jacoby Brissett? Was it a rookie QB? Like, I mean, there are a lot of things that go into this, right? We don't have that information. If you think about prior rookie minicamps, if you look at prior off seasons, you have guys that have phenomenal camps according to reporters. And then it turns out the offense sucked and the defense sucked because they were playing each other. And then you play another team and we look like trash. So just keep in mind the context around it. Yes, it is exciting that Emmanuel Forbes got an interception. Hooray. That's what he's here to do. That's what he's known for. So you better hope so. And now we need to see if that translates when we play other teams like the Cardinals, like the Broncos, like the Bills, like the Eagles, like the Giants, like the Cowboys. He does that against them. Yeah, we're good. But we don't know, to K-Dot's point, until that actually occurs.
Maybe the Ravens scrimmage.
You have joint practices with the Ravens. Actually, there's some stuff to talk about here. Yeah, he picks off Lamar while guarding OBJ or something like that. Well, we got something to talk about, K-Dot.
Maybe.
I'll let you know. I'm going 0 to 100, 6 to midnight immediately if these things start happening against the Ravens.
Okay? I can see that. I mean, sometimes the last scrimmage I remember in particular was D'Angelo Hall getting fucking destroyed by DeAndre Hopkins on fucking Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
bitch.
Don't remember too many local tweets about that one.
Oh,
more national ones, but not local.
Sorry, somebody put out a Twitter thread. Why Chase Young is better than Micah Parsons? A thread, and I was like, what?
It's slow, people. It's slow.
It's so slow. That's okay. Everybody's pulling shit. Like, I was looking at, like, all right, pull the curtain back one more time. I was looking at our videos. Because sometimes what I'll do is if I'm here in the basement, I'm kind of lazy with what I'm wearing here on the pod, but I want to look presentable to some degree. So I always take a look at what
you got nothing on under the waist. Is that right?
Last shorts. Okay. But I usually try to, I look at the last video so I'm not repeating exactly what I wore last time on the pod. And I would look and I was like, oh wow, our view counts are low this for our last video. And we go through the schedule release like everybody else did, but then there's like, okay, what do we want to do this week to get the numbers up, right? We could be desperate and do some dumb shit as far as trying to get the algorithm going. We could be like some people, one particular Twitter account in particular, just trying to rile motherfuckers up for the sake of riling people up. But I think that would be inauthentic. Like, if it's going to be a slow day on the Commanders, let's bring the humor in some other fucking semblance. And I hope that's why people are rocking with us, is that we're not going to pull shit out of our asses just to make it a fucking story. Like, we're not doing morning fucking drive. This is our choice to what it is we talk about here.
And I want to give us some credit for that because, I mean, just 10, 15 minutes ago, we were talking about, saving yourself for the actual moment and then having the release at that time. I mean, like, this is sort of the stuff we're going to do instead and not fake a story, not fake the hype. I get being excited, and feel free in the comments to let us know. It's okay to be excited. Stop being Debbie Downer. Like, whatever your perception is, by all means, go with it. But let us know. Let us know in the comments. I would appreciate that. Which, K-Dot, I think we're doing pretty well with the transitions today. We do have the comment mailbag where we do have 3 comments from the last episode. By the way, I watched our that short of the Commander schedule, just the rapid fire. That was great. That was really well done, sir.
How hard that was.
Oh yeah, that would have taken a lot of time.
Tedious.
Yeah.
Fucking process.
It was great. In fact, I actually posted it on, I think, Wednesday after work, like I was telling you I would.
Yeah.
And it, for whatever reason, YouTube had it at 1 minute and 1 second. And for those that don't know, that is a big problem because that turns into an actual video versus a short, which needs to be a minute or less. So I had to put it back into the editing software, chop 2 seconds off so that it would then inflate by one. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. So that's why it came out yesterday, because it was pending for so long on HD processing.
Well, my fucking thing had it clocked at 59.9. Like,
yeah, and when you sent it to me, it was 1 minute. So I was like, all right, we're good. And then I looked at I looked at YouTube Studio and I was like, 0 views. That makes no sense. These shorts normally explode out the gate and then they just immediately relax. That's the opposite of saving and then releasing late. It's very, very quick and then settles into like, okay, this is where you're at after 3 hours.
That's right.
That's another behind the curtain.
Thank you for helping with the teamwork, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks for chopping those 2 seconds off, because I tried.
No problem at all. I was just stunned. I was like, how does a short have 0 views? And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, it wants to be a full-on video. So I'm really glad we got that sorted. Anyway, 3 comments. 2 from Vindo, OG, and 1 from YC. We're going to begin with Vindo's first comment. Team officially sold. Finally, the day has come. I'm so excited what this means for the city and the team, and understand it will be a long process, but this is the biggest offseason score of all time. K-Dot, as we have mentioned, and thank you for the comment there, Vindo, we won the offseason. More than any other team, we won this offseason because our long-term outlook is so much higher now. Our ceiling is so much higher now. And you would even think our floor, given the sports experience, the sports ownership experience of Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, and his group, is great.
Yes, even though the Sixers were highly disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But I will, regardless, yes, we won the offseason. Snyder's going to go by. He's leaving. And that's the, just think about your darkest days. Think about that halftime against Kansas City years ago when it was lightly snowing and they were winning like 35-0 and the stadium was fucking empty. And you knew this asshole was probably going to outlive you and still own the team and continue to drive it down to the fucking ground. He's gone.
He is gone.
We thought probably would never happen is happening. He's leaving.
Yeah. Truly amazing offseason. And now we go over to YC. Shout out YC. Appreciate, believe, first time commenter. 8-8-1. The old Riverboat Ron. 8-8-1 Rivera. Special. I mean, he's literally an average coach. 98-90 in 2 regular season and 3-5 in the postseason. When you search for the definition of average coach on Google, a picture of Ron Rivera pops up. YC, I want you to know I took that comment very seriously. So I decided to look up average coach, and I checked the images, and Lovie Smith popped up. K-Dot, Lovie Smith over Ron Rivera over other coaches? Jeff bizarre.
Jeff.
That's exactly who I was thinking of when the definition of average coach was thought of as a Google search. Because, people say that in jest, and they're just like, whatever. I was like, you know what? I'm going to search it. Lovie Smith came up.
John Gruden without Tony Dungy's team.
I'm going to push back on that. I think John Gruden was pretty good with the Raiders. And hey, listen, the Brady fumble. I mean, that
is what it is.
The tuck
Patriots
rule.
Won. Fuck them.
Wow.
Yeah, fuck them. Patriots won. It is what it is. Look, the Ron Rivera stuff. Yeah, I mean, I picked them to go 1 game over 500 this season, but that to me was more to do with like Sam Howell developing, still a young guy. I I still think there are some pieces that we could upgrade to a certain degree to be where we need to be. I just want to make sure that people know or understand this. This is from me. I don't speak on behalf, not speaking on behalf of the podcast or speaking on behalf of anybody else, just me. Ron Rivera, regardless of however you think of him is average or whatever, is the guy, in my opinion, who is the absolute perfect person to shepherd us into something new.
Absolutely.
He has been an absolute great human being. And I think if it isn't for him, and I think the respect that needs to get put on his name is if it wasn't for him coming in and constantly talking about changing the culture the way that he talked about it and the hirings that he was doing from a very diversified group, if it wasn't for that stuff, I don't think we have Snyder on the way out at the same level we have right now.
I completely agree.
So I think people need to make sure they put respect on that man's name. He was the perfect transition. Now, let's say that we get a Sean McVay type and we're Super Bowl contenders. Would you take being a Super Bowl contender right now under Sean McVay with Dan Snyder still being your fucking owner because he ain't going anywhere if we're fucking Super Bowl contenders? So I just want people to understand that there's a cost-benefit analysis for the long term of this team and as your fandom of this team and what's truly better for the organization and the community as a whole. And I think Ron Rivera has a lot to fucking do with that. And I will forever be grateful for it.
Yeah. And you said that perfectly, because I know there have been moments, certainly for me, where I'm like, hey, Ron, I appreciate what you've done, but it's time to go. But you can also acknowledge how important it was that he was head coach over here and the stuff that he changed off the field as well. And you can also look at the impact he made on guys like Taylor Heineke, for example. A lot of people thought he disliked Taylor Heineke. He didn't dislike Taylor Heineke. In fact, Taylor Heineke has gotten paid and got his opportunities because of Ron Rivera and Scott Turner, actually, who is now gone. So, like, you can still appreciate the impact that he has made as head coach, and he's got another season to prove himself, right? Like, if he ends up having a great year, sports is very reactionary for most of us, unlike Spiritual K-Dot over here. I'll happily change my tune and change my mind and be like, hey, Ron has got it. Maybe the dark cloud that was being owned by Dan Snyder, this franchise being owned by Dan Snyder, now lifted. Ron can think clearly, just focus on football, and maybe he is one of those brilliant head coaches that we're looking for, and he's right here, right now. So we'll end up seeing what's happening. But those things, trust me, chemistry on the field, off the field, all that stuff matters. And so just wanted to say that. Well said, K-Dot. You had them at 9-8. Vindo, with his final comment, I'd give us 10-7. So one more game on top.
Like it.
I'd give us 10-7 because of defense, and it's do or die for Braun. Honestly, I think we will be better on offense, but most of our games will be low scoring. I don't see us winning in a shootout situation. Hot take. We beat the Bills on a game-winning field goal week 3 at home and win on the road at Philadelphia. So if Vindo also has us beating the Cardinals at home week 1, he has us starting 3-1, K-Dot, instead of the 1-3 that you and I have.
After what we just talked about when it came to Ron Rivera and the dark cloud being lifted, I'm going to say this. It's okay to have optimism again.
Yes.
I think that it's okay. It's not the same optimism we've had the 25 years, the false hope shit. You can have true optimism now. And I would say that overall, the more and more that I think about that, the more and more that I think the Bills...
We could have a home field advantage. Let's start there. For the first time in a long time, we could actually have a home field advantage because there are a lot of people that are now willing to go even to FedEx.
Yep.
And there are rumors that Josh Harris wants to pour in at least $100 million to renovate the stadium while they figure out the new stadium. So he's still looking to maintain. What a breath of fresh air. Dude. What a breath of fresh air. Willing to maintain this stadium and improve this stadium while we get another stadium. He's not looking at it as a sunk cost. If he does that and
gets us a shuttle service from Morgan fucking Boulevard to the goddamn stadium, I'll go.
Yes.
I'll 100%
I'll go too. I mean, like, yeah, exactly.
There are things that are going to be happening. Look, I don't think, once again, the optimism comes into being a fan. I can be a fan again. And that part of me, I don't think it's completely out of the woodwork that we could start a lot higher than we have. Remember, Eric Bieniemy, offensive genius. He's here. We liked Sam Howell last year. The defense, top 10 at the end of this last season. They only got better. They definitely didn't get worse. Mathis, he's coming back. Add depth to the fucking defensive line. I like it.
And there is something to be said about team chemistry, about freedom of energy, about positivity in general.
Mhm.
It can take you a long way. So I am increasingly optimistic about how the season is going to go. And I am curious from the player standpoint, from the coaching staff standpoint, from just the media standpoint, actually, because they've also had to report all these stories and be like, here we go again. I'm sure they would much rather be talking about football like all the other beat writers get to do for the other 31 NFL teams. But here they are being investigative journalists instead of just being able to talk about football. So I'm curious to see how everything changes over
How
here.
many times have we had players have to answer for basically the downtroddeness of the fandom because of
Oh
what's
my
happening off the
gosh.
field?
Some of
Can you
them have
imagine
had
a
to say they
city
understand.
again
Yes.
behind the team?
I mean, if you just look at if you look at the DC Defenders, it was a 9,000 full
That shit
stadium
makes a
instead of
difference.
18, 20,000 that Audi Field can actually hold. And it was the loudest I've
Right.
had Audi Field ever be.
When
And so it makes a
it makes a
huge difference.
huge difference. And
Huge
when the
difference.
team knows the community's behind them, when the team knows, holy shit, FedEx Field was fucking rocking last week. All that shit matters, man. It all matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that was the comment mailbag. This is District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, I keep meaning to put this in the beginning, but please like the video, please share the video, and please subscribe to the channel. This is probably also why maybe growth is a bit slower on my end. But please continue to promote our channel. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a whole lot. We're going to continue to put out shorts. Shout out K. for coming up with those. They help us a whole lot. And we will see you guys next week after the pod begins right. No delay now. Let's just go ahead and jump into it, K. Go ahead. I know what I want to talk about. But
there is something I wanted to say at the end of the last pod before we started the after pod. Well, I'll say it here.
Yeah.
It was the shorts idea for next week as far as like recapping certain areas of the Snyder era, but we'll talk about that. And
we'll talk about that for sure.
So the only thing that matters, and right now, if you are not caught up with this particular show, is fucking Succession. We are 2 episodes away from the end. I typically do a Succession podcast, but that podcast is on hiatus for right now. So I need my fix to talk about the shit. And Amit, you're completely caught up.
I'm completely caught up.
So last week's episode,
hold on. This is officially, just to be clear, if you are intending to catch up, definitely, and we will never say this again, stop watching us right now. Okay?
If you're not caught up, stop, unsubscribe. No, I'm joking.
And then resubscribe once you're caught up. But
do that.
Just a heads up, because this is major spoiler alert territory. We are going to be talking about everything that's happened up until this point. I'm personally excited to do it, but I want to give you guys 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Get the fuck out of here.
5. All right, cool. We can go ahead and talk about it. We are talking about the details of it. Go ahead, K.
It was the election night fucking episode, man, which was the thing that we've been hyping. It's been in the background this entire season, right? The Jared Mencken, when are we going to see Justin Kirk playing that fucking character again? The episode prior to this one is the with the tailgate party, the election pre-night party, where we have the fireworks between Tom and Shiv, which there's too much of that shit that reflects my own relationship. That's terrifying. To this point that do you know my family actually calls my girlfriend Shiv because of the resemblance? Like she's a redhead, and she looks just like Sarah Snook. Like it's fucking nuts. So it's like, so there's a dude. I watched, like, talk about last the week before. I watched that episode. I was in fucking tears, and usually I do an immediate rewatch. I couldn't.
It was a heavy episode.
It's really heavy.
It was fast paced. It was heavy, and you could see the different characters with different motivations. And for the first time, Roman really put his foot down. Like, really. And it was insane. Like, yeah, he had let go of some other people, but that was more reactionary. Like, okay, I don't like that you're undermining my authority, whatever. This was very much we have power available to us, and fuck what the reality is. We can make this reality. And it was incredible. It was absolutely compelling and incredible. And like, there's part of you that's like, can he do that? And it's like, Yeah. It was
You just
crazy.
do it. You
Yeah.
do it, and then afterwards you deal with whatever it is. Like
Right.
post Trump 2016, I think the hardest thing to do entertainment wise is satire.
Mhm.
And because things have gotten so far out of whack that things that we would thought were satire are just accepted now. Which is why, like, even I remember hearing the dudes that do Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar Games, which is always every Grand Theft Auto is like
Incredible.
a huge satirical version of the United States, and they were like, we're finding it hard to write the next game because like we don't even like things have gone so far. We
Oh,
don't
I
even know
see.
how
So
far.
like what is deemed even acceptable in a satirical sense?
Right, but it's not what can be accepted as satire when you have things on the
Mm.
news that seem so far.
Yeah, because
out
then
of
it's no
fucking
longer
whack.
satirical, it's reality.
Right. So like
Right.
you can't even do it. But like when you see that I always fuck his name up, Jesse Armstrong. You can see that this is a British show that takes place in the United States. It's a British dramedy that takes place in the United States that is clearly being satirical on what it is that he thinks is wrong with capitalism, big corporations,
Mhm.
and the political spectrum. And during the entire thing, they're constantly reminding you that none of this fucking matters to them. This is just a game. This is
Yes.
one more thing in the sense of power. And the fact that you brought up Roman, we find ourselves rooting for Roman over the course of the series of
Yes, we do.
Succession.
Yes, we do.
But there are so many reasons why you shouldn't. There are so many.
This
of
latest
these guys,
episode is clearly a reason why you shouldn't.
But you get pilot episode, he offers the groundskeeper kid the $1 million check if he hits the home run, and then rips it up in his face.
Right.
You have at the party when he trips up Kendall and use the records him. There are constant reminders that Roman's an absolute dickhead.
Yes.
He's a piece of shit. Kendall, he killed a guy. Piece of shit.
Right.
Shiv, piece of shit. I hate Nate every time he's fucking on TV.
Oh,
God damn,
Sam,
I hate that
Sam.
motherfucker.
His face
So
is
punchable
as hell. Okay. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'm feeling jealous on the half a share.
And we could dive into that after the pod if you'd like. Yeah.
But it's just this episode was they took what they did with Ravenhead being on TV, and he looks just like anyone would be on Fox News or anything else. When you hear Jared Mencken bring in Roman and tell him, hey, I'm more concerned with losing. Winning's easy. I'm more concerned with losing.
Yes.
And if I lose, it's got to be a grand victory. It's a win. It's a win that I lost because the way I lost. It's like this it's hilarious.
It is.
But it's also so sad and frightening that it is mirroring. I know it's being more hyperbolic, but it is for the most part mirroring exactly what happens in our society.
Yes, completely. Like you can just, like you're saying, the way power works, it minimizes the average person, right? The common person. And so that is a hard thing to swallow while you're watching that, right? Because a lot of us fall into that category, right? You want to make a difference. Your vote matters, all this stuff. And then you see those scenes and you go, does it? Like it was so well done. That whole episode, Roman putting his foot down, consistent reminders, like you said, hey, yeah, there are times where he's, emotionally more open than his brother and sister, relatively speaking. So you connect to that. It's natural to do so. But he's also an absolute fucking prick. And so, like they all are. Even Tom opening up and being like, you know what? I care a lot about money. Even when I met you, that was a part of it for me. And when Shiv says that she's pregnant and tells Tom for the first time, and he goes, is this some sort of tactic? Like
high on coke.
High on coke? I forgot about that. Oh, the wasabi in the eyes, by the way.
Jesus Christ, Greg.
Greg. And Greg blackmailing everybody throughout the series.
He's getting better at it.
He's getting better.
He's getting good at it.
And he's selling everybody out. Like it is. What a well-written show. 2 episodes left. Who knows how this is going to end? I mean, it is.
Anyone knows how it ends. But like the thing this season is that like the one thing to always remember about this season is how short it is in time frame. So like from the first episode to here we are right now, this might be a week that has passed. Like maybe a week and a half tops. but most of this stuff is happening day after day after day after day after day. So it's a lot that fucking goes down. And we've seen each one of the siblings, the Roy siblings, other than I'll talk about Connor separately because I fucked
Connor's
up.
running for president.
There's four Roy siblings, right? The three that are the ones that we think are in the positions to play for power have all had their highs and lows this season. They all have had a moment where we thought, oh right, shit, they're in the driver's seat. You had Kendall, who in that episode with Living Plus, who we all thought was going to fail at this, and Jesse
completely. He started off slow. It was awful.
He did an amazing job setting us up with our expectations, along with the characters' expectations of what was going to happen, and he knocks it out of the park. Then, even in the party episode, at the tailgate party, when him and Mattson are going back and forth, he bests Mattson.
Yes,
he bests him, and you're like, holy shit, Kendall might be onto something. And then you have Shiv, who's been in the throes of everything this season, has the moment when they go to Norway, she's the one that's got Mattson's ear. She makes that fucking deal and everything fucking happen. She's right there. You're like, holy shit, Shiv might be the one. She might have it. Then you have election night. Roman has got his guy. His guy is now going to be president. And I would just say that if you've seen the preview for this upcoming episode.
No, I prefer not to, just so I have no idea. And I appreciate you asking. Yeah.
All right. I won't talk about it then.
Okay.
But everyone has had their high and their low. And I think that's going to be universal for all of it. And how it all ends, I could just say it'll be bad for America.
Oh, completely. I mean, you talk about bad for America. Kendall finds out Shiv lied to him and had an ulterior motive. And that's what pushes him over and says, make the call in Wisconsin.
Right.
Think about it. It was a sibling disagreement that has now potentially changed the course in that universe of the United States of America, and therefore the world as well, right? Because they are putting in the most powerful position on the planet, which a lot of people would agree with, President of the United States. They are single-handedly doing what it depends, but single-handedly doing what they want to do just because Shiv wasn't upfront with Kendall. That's it. That's the reason this is happening.
Shiv did a terrible job playing that out.
I would agree. There was a moment where Kendall opened up and it was like, this may be a good time to also do the same thing. Didn't.
It's so easy to not. I didn't talk to Nate.
Yeah. And instead was like, I faked it.
Right.
Yeah. They said
that fucking scene.
So good.
Where Kendall picks up the phone and then she, like a little kid, what are you doing? I'm calling Nate. Well, you don't do that. Why? He's busy. Like a small child. Right. And he leaves the room, gets on the phone, and you see him, and she's talking to Roman, but looking out the glass. And Kendall makes eye contact, gets off the phone, does the slow walk, and then he goes to talk to Greg. Shiv, you can see her basically shit herself internally.
Yep.
Oh, fuck. I just tried to strong arm Greg earlier. I could have bought him off, but I pressured him. It did. Then it's out of focus, so it's really hard to see it, but if you slow it down, when Greg walks away from Kendall, he does this bit at first, but when he walks past the column, he is smirking.
Smiling huge with the shrug, like, see ya.
Just incredible shit. Like, that's the thing is that every episode they also boil it down to these guys are like the sibling shit from when they were kids. So it resonates. Like, when Kendall doing the Living Plus thing is disappointed that Roman's not there, think about that. He has a costume of a fucking flight jacket like he's a toddler that needs to go out there. And as brother doesn't want to have
They're playing
his
with
back.
The toy. They're playing with the toy.
That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. It is the best show on TV. The only thing I think that comes close is Andor, as far as just like if I was power ranking shit. The Bear is also coming back this season, which is fucking great. But have you seen the Bear?
No, I've only heard, but a lot of people are talking about it now. So this is probably gonna be the next
quick
show.
To go through too. But Succession to me has just cracked. I think it's top 3 all time. It was
Let's see how it ends. Let's see how it ends.
No, I'm done. It's over. Like,
really, no matter what.
Because I don't think he can, because whatever
you can't have a satisfying ending, right? Fair enough.
But the thing, whatever the ending is, I know it's his ending. It's Jesse Armstrong's ending, and it's not pressure. Nobody was telling him he had to end it. No one was telling me he had to do this, that, and the other. It's his story, and I've loved the story so far.
I love when that happens, where it's not rushed.
Yeah, it's rare.
The writer is able to, and creator is able to go, we're ending now. Because I feel like there is also a lot of times where people will pressure them. Please continue. This is making a lot of money. Like, let's keep going. I love when, there you go. I love when directors, creators, writers, etc. can go, no, it ends here because this is the way it was supposed to be.
Right.
Love that.
It's awesome. Like Seinfeld goes out the way you want to go. I'm on top. Story's over. I'm going to leave with a good taste of your fucking mouth. I'm not going to do this before it goes on too long. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was a show that was like, Game of Thrones was easily top 10, probably top 5 all time. And then you get the last season that comes around, which everybody's in agreement. Oh, while I do agree with everything in the sense of the way it ended, like where all the characters ended up, you then had guys that just didn't want to do this anymore. So they rushed everything in the 8th season.
They were the show that, so I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I watched like the first 2-3 episodes. It was a bit too slow. I knew it was going to be incredible. I was going to get hooked, but I just didn't make that commitment to it. That was the show where the Starbucks coffee cup was on set, right?
Yeah.
And like so, in a scene.
When you hear about like what it took to
shoot
the show,
yeah.
When you hear, I'm not going that far. I won't go that far because when you hear what they were going through when it comes to making the show, they're out in like Scandinavia. It's negative 20 degrees.
Okay, so
it's
miserable conditions.
Harsh. Everyone's been away from their families for months. Like everyone is having a miserable time, right? Yeah. And they're like, look, HBO's saying we can have 10 more seasons if we wanted to, or at least 2 more to get it done correctly. We gotta do. Everybody's over this. We gotta stop. So yes, they rushed it. Yes, did it hurt the overall product? Absolutely. I understand. I can't say that I'd be I can't say I wouldn't do the exact same thing if I was in their position. I don't know because I heard it was really hard. But Succession doesn't have any of those issues.
It's fabulous
on its own terms. The story naturally ends the way he wants to, which to me automatically, regardless of whatever, it could be 30 seconds. It could be the intro and then just a black screen, and I'd say,
amazing,
magnificent job, Jackson. I might not understand what you were going for, and then we'll have the conversations about it.
I have a question. I have a question. What if somehow Logan's alive? Some double died. He's just been chilling. He's watching this whole thing.
With it.
You're fine with it. Okay, so even that, cool with it.
It would never happen, but I'm fine
no.
with
Obviously, it would never happen. But I just had to pick something where it's just like that would be so ridiculous, right?
I'm fine with it because
it's a great show.
It's a great show, and I think that regardless of how it ends up, and that's the thing that blows my mind is like I love sometimes like depending on the quality of the show, you get nervous about it. It happened with the Marvel shows, so like everything the MCU has put out, television show wise, in the last like 3 years, has their highs, has their lows. Some are better than the other, but the thing that I was always worried about in every single one of the shows, except for one, Loki, I think is the only one that nailed this.
Okay,
with 2 episodes left. You're like, you can't wrap all this up. What are you doing? Like, you're nervous in the sense of like, we've got 10 things that you guys brought up. How the fuck are you going to resolve it in 2 fucking episodes?
Yeah.
You get nervous on behalf of the show. The Marvel mixed bag as far as the way that they did. I think some were successful, some weren't. They tried to wrap everything out together by the end of the episode, but whatever.
Yeah.
This, I don't feel any sense of worry. There's no worry. The only thing I feel is a pang of sadness that I
because it's ending.
More of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you guys have to know this coming from KDOT, that is massive praise. Massive praise. You just need to recognize that because KDOT knows his stuff. I mean,
I'm just particular.
Well, fair enough. Hey, that's good. Before we quickly sign off, I just want to say I did start watching the show on Netflix. Apparently it got canceled, which I'm only 4 episodes in, but I absolutely love it. Inside Job, the animated show.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my gosh. It is so funny. So there are moments where it's very clever, sort of reminds me of Rick and Morty in some ways. I think you would really enjoy it. If you're looking for just something, I wouldn't call it mindless. That's the thing, because some of the jokes are clever and it's fun to just sit down and enjoy. It is very funny. It is very, very funny. It's about the deep state being real. And they work at a place called Cognito Inc., where they literally just took the ink from Incognito and put it at the end. so that they're very open about what they're doing. It's the whole thing is very, very funny. It's very well done.
Sounds like something to be into. I do have a theory, if you ever want on one of these afterpods, on how Rick and Morty almost destroyed the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That would be great. We'll go ahead and talk about that another time. But until then, take it easy, everybody.
Bye, guys.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.